Good afternoon. I wanted to welcome everybody to today's webinar featuring one of our key resource partners here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, the Tobacco Region Revitalization Commission. Their R&D SBIR program will be highlighted today in this webinar. This webinar is presented by the Center for Innovative Technology, and our special guest today is Evan Feinman, who is the Executive Director of the Tobacco Region Revitalization Commission. And this webinar today is funded in part through a grant award from the U.S. Small Business Administration. Our goal of this grant is to further educate startup, pre-startup, and early stage technology firms in Virginia about various funding sources and resources available to support our early ventures. Quickly, one of CIT's key programs in this effort is the Federal Funding Assistance Program, which dedicates its time and resources and efforts to engage with the early stage technology companies in Virginia to help them learn about, understand, and apply for federal SBIR and STTR grants. We provide low-cost proposal workshops and webinars, some strategy consultation and mentoring. We have referrals and discounts with some of the expert proposal SBIR consultants out there. We engage with our investment team to help provide additional readiness review and consideration for our investment fund. We have a small grant award that helps qualified companies actually hire some of the outside consultants that you might need to help apply for your first SBIR Phase 1 or Phase 2. And we also have the CRCF, the Commonwealth Research Commercialization Fund, has an SBIR and STTR matching grant programs for those who win SBIR awards. There are certain qualifications that apply for that. It's an annual solicitation that typically comes out in the fall of each year. You can find out more information about that grant program on the CIT.org website. We have a series of recorded webinars on our website on various aspects of SBIR and STTR. We have live events always coming up throughout the Commonwealth. Go to the CIT.org/events website, and you can find out more about that. My contact information is here. And again, I'm going to go ahead and follow up. We're here with Evan's presentation. And Evan, go ahead and give a little overview of what you guys do in maybe a general sense, and also focus in on what you guys are doing to support the SBIR community in Virginia.
Sure. Thank you very much, Robert, and thank you to everybody who's taking the time out of their day to take a look at our presentation here. I'm Evan Feinman. I'm the director of the Tobacco Region Revitalization Commission, more colloquially known as just the Tobacco Commission. I'm going to give you a little overview of what we do, and then we'll focus in specifically on our SBIR R&D program. So the commission was created in the late 90s when the various states' attorneys general, and let me just go back here if I can, or if Robert can actually push me back. We were created in the late 90s when the various states' attorneys general sued the 5 largest tobacco companies in the country for misleading the public as to the nature of the health impact of cigarettes. 49 states settled, among them Virginia, and we received a very large and ongoing into perpetuity settlement. Virginia took 30 years of that settlement and securitized it to create a big pot of money that could then be leveraged to support diversification and growth of the economy in southern and southwest Virginia. And we've been in operation ever since that 1999 victory. We serve a defined area, which you guys got a preview of a moment ago. We primarily work in the green and brown shaded areas of the Virginia map that you can see here. We divide that into 2 regions that reflect sort of the broad differing histories and economies of what we characterize as southern and southwest Virginia. But for your purposes, either shaded section is within our footprint and an area in which we work. Our initial securitization led to a pot of money of about $1.2 billion. Initially, that money was deployed very quickly, so we didn't operate as a foundation. We spent down a significant percentage of that money. We have since, however, prioritized getting on sustainable footing. So we have about a little under half of that money left, around $475 million that we're managing. And a key aspect of our sustainable fiscal management is making aggressive use of loans in addition to grants. And so we'll get into that as it applies to this program in just a moment. We do a variety of different things. We invest broadly in 3 big areas. We invest in infrastructure, so that can be site development, shell buildings, broadband deployment, gas and water and electrical utilities. We invest in workforce development, and so that expresses itself in investments in our community college and post-secondary education institutions, in scholarships, and in specialized programs for folks like transitioning military or really advanced work on folks who are transitioning out of failing industries. And then finally, we make direct incentive payments to companies to locate their work and some portion of their business in our part of the world, whether it be an expansion of an existing company or a relocation or a new location for companies that are outside of the region. We, specifically regarding the R&D program, we initially set aside around $100 million. Of that, $80 million has been awarded. That varies a little bit depending on how much comes back into us, and that we have a few incumbent projects out there, but I think it's sort of safe to say we've got around $20 million left in the kitty for R&D right now. Previously, we would take all comers. Anybody who had something that could be broadly characterized as an R&D project, we would evaluate. That, I think, quite understandably led to a real difficulty in vetting a number of these projects. We, on our staff, we're a relatively lean state agency. We couldn't necessarily retain in-house the kind of broad expertise that would be required to look at strengthening composite materials and nanoseptic disinfecting and advanced LED light displays and genomic changes to tobacco plants to produce biofuels and all the broad variety of different projects that came before us. We wound up spending a great deal of time and energy on that vetting process relative to the number of projects we were able to move through. And so while many of our projects are still moving forward, it became clear that we needed to come up with a different way of determining who is a proper recipient of our funding. And so in conjunction with our friends at CIT and a few other of our friends at higher ed institutions, we landed on a concept of requiring the award of an SBIR Phase 2 as the technological proof of concept. And here, really what we're saying is, if the federal government awards someone an SBIR Phase 1, and then they come back and on that same project get a Phase 2, we believe that you've cleared the proof of concept stage, and we think you are a likely technological candidate for an award. Now, that will remain contingent upon a variety of other evaluative factors that we'll use, including the requirements that you see before you and our judgment on the staff level that you have a viable business. So when we get into those requirements, let's say you have a project that you believe would be a good candidate for receiving funding from us. Here are some of the things that you need to think about. First, the research needs to be done at least primarily within the tobacco region. That's one of those 2 shaded areas in the map you saw at the beginning. Additionally, as we said, you must have received or be applying for an SBIR Phase 2 grant. If you haven't yet gotten your Phase 2, what we can do is we can make an award contingent upon your receipt of the Phase 2. And then, of course, if you don't get it, our award doesn't come through. But if you do, then we will supply you the grant. As you work toward commercialization, we require that you also commercialize within our region. Part of the point of our R&D program is to generate new corporate activity within our footprint. And so if you're developing a widget or a process or some object for sale, we do require that you do that within the region that we serve, or we'll claw back our money or some percentage of our money. In the event that you're acquired, all of the grant requirements would carry over to the acquirer, and so they would be subject to the same thing. If you wind up in a licensure situation, then what we would do is we would work with you to negotiate out what an appropriate percentage of that licensure would be in terms of a payback for the commission. As a general rule, we work on sort of a pro rata basis. The amount of funding that you receive from us as a percentage of total project funding is the amount of clawback that we generally require. As I said, we can do a grant award prior to your receipt of your SBIR Phase 2, but then it's contingent upon that receipt. While it's often characterized as a match, you can ask for any grant amount from us. To give you a little framing on that, we generally run grants anywhere between $200,000 and $2 million. We'd entertain a larger request. It just hasn't happened, and there hasn't been a good reason for it. But what we want your grant request to be is a business plan-driven request. So we don't need to mechanically match whatever you get out of the feds in the SBIR grant. Instead, we want to know what your real business gap is and how you can articulate any amount of money filling that gap to get you from where you are to commercialization. We're also willing to make well below market rate loans. Generally, they're in the 1% to 2% range in terms of rates. And we're much more open to larger awards in the loan space than the grant space, simply because, of course, we're getting our money back. And then finally, we have very few requirements in terms of the ways that you can use our money. You could use a grant to employ support services that would help you acquire other sources of money or work through the federal program. You could use our grant for direct capital expenditures on equipment or on inventory. You can use it to cover operating expenses, or really whatever else you can articulate that's within the business plan we discussed at the outset. And that's a real strength of the program. We find that our ability to deliver money really gives people flexibility, because when you're starting a business, particularly a new technology business, unforeseen circumstances and the ability to work with us to really be flexible in the uses of money make our dollars go a long way. We have an upcoming funding round in which we will consider applicants this summer. The deadline is on July 27th. And so if you're interested in applying with us, all you need to do is go to tic.virginia, all spelled out, .gov, and we have an online application portal. Our website is somewhat rudimentary right now. I have had on my list of things to do improving our website, and we've finally gotten around to it. And so in the next month or two, I would say in May at the latest, there will be a new and much more user-friendly website. But in either instance, you should be able, with a little hunting, to find our online application portal. It'll be on the upper right side of the website, whether it's the old or the new website. Fill out a pre-application, and then a member of my team will contact you, and we'll begin to feel out your project, whether or not it's a good fit, and the way in which we can best present it to the committee. Once that has been done, we'll help you in filling out a full application, and then that application will enter into our process. Each different program area of the commission is served by a committee that is a subset of the membership of the full commission. In this instance, it would be the R&D committee that you'd be going before. First, after we work with you to make as strong an application as possible, our staff evaluates your application and those of all the other applicants. We make a recommendation in terms of the amount, nature, timing, and any considerations or caveats that we want to put on it to the committee in terms of how they should respond to your application. If you don't agree with our staff recommendation, or if the committee just wants to hear more from you, you may be called before the committee to make your case for why your project deserves more, less, different forms of funding. And then the committee will make a recommendation to the full commission. At that point, we would await the next full commission meeting. The commission meets 3 times a year, once in January, once in May, and once in September. And at each of those meetings, they take up committee recommendations that have been made prior. So in this instance, this year, given that we have a summer deadline, it would be our September meeting when the full commission meets, at which the commission would ultimately approve, deny, or modify any of the recommendations that came out of the R&D committee. At that point, the money would be accessible to you, and you can draw down from us on a reimbursement basis. If you've got any questions at all, you can reach any of my staff or me via our website. And otherwise, we look forward to seeing all the great projects that good Virginia companies can put before us. Thank you very much.
Evan, is there, other than the July deadline, if people are listening to this later on as a recorded version, are there other deadlines that are standard throughout the year? Are there multiple deadlines?
The committees meet at the discretion of their chair. I would anticipate there will probably be 2 funding rounds per year for the next several years, but we haven't gotten those on the calendar currently.
Okay.
So what I would say is if somebody is not interested in or is not currently ready to apply for our July deadline, then what they ought to do is either reach out to us sometime in the fall or keep an eye on our website, and those deadlines will be announced.
Great. That sounds great. And in addition to the grants and the loans, there certainly companies early stage, if they're if they're not intending to the loans. I guess my question is, the loans have similar requirements to be in your footprint. They can't just apply for them without having some presence in those areas.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Anybody who's engaged with us financially needs to be doing the bulk of their research work or the bulk of their commercialization in our footprint.
Great. And I know that companies that are particularly applying for some of the agencies that like to see, follow-on funding plans, this is a great program to kind of have early discussion with as you're planning these. If you're applying for a phase 2, I suggest you definitely reach out to them as early as you can, so you understand the timing, the processes, and you can incorporate that possibly even into your phase 2 proposal, as these are the things that we're applying for. Things that the agency could possibly come back in a just-in-time scenario prior to award to verify the status of that award. It could be give you a leg up on other companies if you've got these other funding plans down the road that are going to be required that are outside of the federal government planning for SBIR. So that's particularly with NIH, NSF, and other things that might require to build out, facility and processes that would be in the footprint there, of course, but could give you a really good leg up on getting that phase 2 award over other companies. So please consider that. So looking at that website, that would be the main website. Where was that? I think I just passed it there. There somewhere.
It is CIT-VIPC.virginia.gov.
There it is. And certainly contact information is on there. I want to thank you today, Evan. This is a great resource for Virginia-based companies and researchers. Certainly a reason to relocate a company from another area of the state to get into the region or be eligible and to hopefully grow a company and have a lot of economic impact.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Evan. If there's any questions, anybody can also follow up with me at CIT or look on the tic.virginia.gov website for further information. Thank you very much.
Thank you.